Well, our typical cutoff point is $10,000 per idea.
Okay, yeah.
And so the notion is every idea we have, we're going to give it a fair shake, and we're going to walk away quickly and with no regrets. Which, funnily enough, we had so many things, just ideas that we worked on that we shelved, and we called it like the graveyard, the idea graveyard.
This was in the graveyard.
This was one of the graveyards.
How do you turn a fun startup and scale it into a large then business that makes you lots of money? Mm-hmm. That is then what Hannah Michaud does on the episode. And today, my name is Maverick Lyles, and this is
Toby Lyles,
my beloved father. And then you also have something to your own.
Yeah, we've run a podcast studio, and we and actually I help folks build podcasts. So if you're looking to build a podcast, reach out. We're offering a lower price on our typical thing for the next couple months here. So if you're reaching out to us before June of 2026, then we have a lower discount for you. And today we have Hannah Michaud of PixelPay, and here we go. Your husband's a coder.
Yeah, so he's a software guy. He's full stack. He's really good.
Okay.
And he always knew he wanted to work for himself and have a startup. That's been the goal. And so we've at some point learned you roll the dice as often as possible and try lots of things, more so than putting all your eggs in one basket. So we're always just kind of looking for the opportunity.
Really?
Yeah. And
what does that look like? Like, do you guys have like conversations every day? Well, we could solve that problem. We could solve that problem. We could do that, but that'd be hard. Is that like dinner time conversation for you guys?
Pretty much. Well, I'm thinking back to some of the earlier conversations. I mean, back when I had a crush on him and he didn't know he was talking about all this stuff. And I was like, I don't know if I want to that's a lot, that's
really,
that's like a tough lifestyle. And then,
hold on. Did you come from entrepreneurship?
No.
Okay.
No, so I'm from a big family, and we were kind of, people like to compare us to the Weasleys and Harry Potter. We're like loving and happy and broke. And that was very comfortable, very happy with that kind of lifestyle. And he's like, I want to have $1 billion company one day. And I'm like, whoa, I don't know if that's me.
Why not? I mean, who doesn't want
It's just intimidating. It was like a big thought. Like, I never considered any of those things. But I remember dating, and we saw, it was Murder on the Orient Express in the Lincoln Theater downtown. So whatever year that would have been. And he was walking around and just talking about Wyoming. And he's like, this state, man, they're big and they're huge and they're cold. Like, you could have a tech place here. You could have data centers here. And he knew so much about tech. He knew the AI thing was coming. And he was like, when AI gets big, man, Wyoming could be so influential and powerful and wealthy. And he's like, this is the place to be. And I was like, Wyoming? Or have you been here? Like, are we talking about the same state? And funnily enough, here we are, 8 years married, and now we're doing a tech startup in Wyoming. And it's just funny how that full circle comes around.
How did you process some of those early moments of a bigger vision for Wyoming, a bigger vision for you and yourself? Billion. That's a big number, not just millions.
I mean, I don't remember specifically what he was talking about, but it was like numbers wise exactly. He would probably remember. But
you had to go through a process in the middle of it.
Yeah, for sure. I think part of it was it just sounded like a lot of fun.
Did it? I
never heard anybody talk about money in a way that was fun, or even numbers. I mean, and I'm not a paperwork person. I'm very much like the creative. And I used to, if I was forced to use a spreadsheet, I always cried. It was always like, math makes you say, what's a book that made you cry? And it's your math book usually. And I would just get so anxious and stressed about this stuff. And at some point along the way, his love for it and his excitement for numbers and business, it just started to look more fun than scary. And so there was this slow change.
It takes something else to do, to have more than one idea and it not, because you spend money, spend time, you talk about it, and then just.
I know. Well, our typical cutoff point is $10,000 per idea,
okay,
and so the notion is every idea we have, we're going to give it a fair shake, and we're going to walk away quickly, and with no regrets.
Are you willing to talk about one of those?
Well, okay, so one of the very early ones, which is funny because we've both had them. So one of mine was actually like those crank machines, like the little candy dispensers, which was a bummer because I talked to like 2 people and they were like, yeah, we want to put one in. And I was like, oh, this is going to go really well. So I bought a whole bunch of them. And then those people backed out and I never got another customer. Which I was getting them off Facebook Marketplace cheap and whatever, but I was thinking about like,
sold the thing.
Yeah, I know. I bought 2 and they were like, absolutely. So then I bought a few more and then they said, never mind. And then, no one else liked them. So it was a bummer. I was looking into like vending routes and stuff and it just didn't go. Like some really cool social media concepts that we've had that we kind of built the bare bones out for and was like, okay, there's not a market. We don't know how to monetize this yet. Different things. Which funnily enough, we had so many things, just ideas that we worked on that we shelved and we called it like the graveyard, the idea graveyard. And I ended up encountering a designer, which one of our big things, we didn't have a user experience designer. So like a graphic designer can make it look good, but the UX designer makes it usable and knows where to put the buttons and how big to make them and stuff. And we encountered one who was interested. She was interested in working on our project. And so we presented her with several ideas from the idea graveyard and said, pick one. And she chose PixelPay, which is why we're here.
This was in the graveyard.
This was one of the graveyards.
Why was it in the graveyard?
Because we didn't have a designer. And among a few other things. So we first got this idea. Some friends of ours, one of our friends was working at Fort Fun in Fort Collins, found a Pac-Man machine by a dumpster. Chucked it in the back of his truck, had no garage, had nowhere to put it, lived with his mom, asked if he could put it in our garage, decided he didn't have time to fix it. The screen was busted. And he said, if you can fix it, then it's yours. And we liked arcades and thought that was fun. So in the process of fixing the thing up, my husband noticed the coin mech just wasn't so complicated as he thought it would have been. And first he put in a little button where you can just push it and add coins. And then he's like, well, we could put in a Wi-Fi device and we could get a QR code. And now we have the bare bones of a digital payment for a coin machine, a retrofit. And took that as far as we could and then said, well, I'm not an electrical engineer and I'm not a designer. So when we encounter those people, we'll maybe revisit this and put it aside for a while.
So you guys have an idea you love. Why didn't you force it? Go spend the money, go, I don't know, conferences and just make the connection.
Such a good question. I think for us, we ended up watching this YouTube video where and I wish I could remember the guy's name. It's a bigger channel. And he was saying how to go viral on the internet. And his point was your best idea will only be as successful. It's not likely to be any more successful than a mediocre idea. The ideas you put effort into are not necessarily the ideas that succeed. So you can put tons of effort into its great video and it goes nowhere. And then you just record something silly off the cuff and it goes viral. And it's that sort of thing where your effort doesn't necessarily correlate to your success. And so you're better off trying lots of things. And a lot of the things we did try really did end up looping around and helping out with this. So trying to set up a vending route for me gave us a better understanding of claw machine routes and the operators. Like a lot of the things we've tried have fed back into this, but I think we just didn't force it because we didn't see a clear path forward. And so we let it be. And then when our designer came and made our great brand and logo and everything, and I started getting into some of the entrepreneurial circles here in Cheyenne. They introduced us to an electrical engineer named Ryan, who's done amazing work. So we ended up, rather than just hire the best person off of like Fiverr or Craigslist, we just kind of waited until we got referrals to really great people. And we've always done very well with word of mouth. So I think we just weren't in the mood to force things at the time. And now we waited for it to come around at the right time. I mean, one of the interesting things is we've had a lot of medical issues. My health failed tremendously right after we got married for about 4 years. I was in very, very, very bad shape. His health is kind of iffy. He deals with a lot of fatigue and stuff, and that's kind of out of your control. And you just learn at some point you're going to do your best, and the results are going to be whatever they are. And we're not chill people by any means. I wouldn't say that we're anything but really high strung. However, putting that blame on yourself to make everything happen, we understand is unreasonable.
You even want to talk about the medical side. Is there a story around what it was like?
There is a little bit. It was awful. It was horrible. And I just remember thinking like there's nothing. I, lost so much of my 20s to medical problems. And I mean, a lot of us are, Monique has some autoimmune stuff and different things. Heath is doing good. He's 23 and he's our other coder. He's also the only type B personality on the team. So God bless Heath. We need him so bad. But I think we've all struggled a little bit there. But I just felt like this was like a loss that could never it could never be worth it. The time, the money. I ended up doing a lot of really robust physical therapy and like physical therapist, laser therapy, acupuncture, massage. Like it was a lot of like body problems. And we ended up meeting our designer through one of my therapists, yeah, which was hilarious. So it was this weird thing where since our designer was the one who chose PixelPay as the project out of the graveyard, if I hadn't had health problems, we wouldn't have met that designer and we would have maybe got there eventually. But PixelPay kind of just exists because I needed a lot of physical therapy.
Interesting.
And my husband and I were talking about it, I think 2 nights ago, and we were like, well, yeah, actually now in hindsight, it kind of does feel worth it. Like it was all part of the bigger picture and it's got its place now. So that was, I think, a really good feeling to come around to.
You were obviously working on business ideas when you got sick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Is there anything else in that? How did that feel? Was there something that you just had to put on pause?
Well, I think it's rough because since my husband is a developer and you're going to do so much code for for like 5% of marketing, you're going to do like 95% of code. Like you're going to spend hours and hours more on software than just about anything else. So it was always just him like, all right, going to go work on the project now. And I would be like, wonder what I'm going to do. I just ended up feeling very useless, I think, a lot of the time anyways. And then being so sick. I remember being in the hospital at National Jewish Health because it was like a breathing type deal. And he was sitting there with his laptop on his lap and in the waiting room. And I'm just sitting there feeling kind of like, man, I wish I could be doing something. We had a lot of video game concepts that we had back in the day. And I was like, I'll do the voice acting and I can do, some of the stuff and like character design. But you have to do like 100 hours of coding before you get to any of that. Oh, yeah. So I think that's kind of, there's been a lot of feeling useless or waiting for the other person. But I think we've all kind of sat in that seat at one point, all 5 of us, because sometimes it's all on you and sometimes it's all on someone else. And you're either really stressed and way too busy or you're waiting on everyone else and feeling kind of useless. But you just got to be okay with that and like develop a good attitude in the waiting and in the working. I think it's good to have that.
Let's talk about that idea.
Okay.
Because that's what you're starting with here, and that you're getting a crew on board with, and that you're writing grants for. So it goes with the team and the funding right at the beginning. How did you pitch that?
Well, if you've ever worked in like an entry level or like service kind of industry, like in the kitchen, y'all are just talking about your lives and hanging out. So it's a really beautiful, very unique life sharing that happens. So Monique and I we're talking about everything and being really good friends. And so she knew about the projects and my husband would come and drink and he has his laptop in tow everywhere he goes. I've got dozens of pictures of him in ridiculous locations popping up his laptop coding away. And so he would sit at the corner of the bar with a rum and Coke and just be like, and so she knew what he was working on. And then Mo actually met her husband there. So Branson came through and there was a connection and they were married like a year later. So we got to be there as the team came together.
That's fun.
Yeah.
Comes together
and so it was just yapping, Mo and I just can talk a million miles an hour together. And so she knew and Branson has had a lot of his own startups. So he had search engine optimization where he was employing several people to do that. He's got a YouTube channel. He's had bees. He's done gourmet, they grow mushrooms in their basement. They have like a big old tent and a humidifier. It's very cool. He's done a lot of like online services and stuff. So he is a serial entrepreneur as well. And he has a graveyard. He's helping Mo's brother build medical hardware right now. Like they are doing all that. So Branson and Brian immediately were like, they knew. So then it was 2 boys at the bar. Mo and I were serving drinks and there's 2 guys on laptops doing their thing. And so it happened really organically. And And so at some point we were like, okay, guys, like, this is PixelPay starting to look good. You've been helping us anyways. Mo has been writing some stuff. Branson has been suggesting and helping. And you've been doing some paperwork. Let's get you guys on. And initially we were going to try to pay them. So I took a part-time job and we were giving them a small amount a month. And at some point we were like, let's call this what this is. Like, you guys are acting like owners. Let's just get you a good chunk of this company. And then Heath was working for Branson. So he had been around a little bit. Branson manages a restaurant. Okay. And I think he's a server. And Heath has a degree in cybersecurity, but Brian at some point is like, I gotta get another coder. Like, I have to run the business. I have to think like a CEO, and I'm doing all this software. Can we get another software person? And Branson said, I have a server who kind of does that. So he brought Heath in, and we actually were sitting at the hair salon of Mo's older sister. So Mo's older sister owns a hair salon. Okay. We were sitting there after hours on a couch, all just talking, and Branson put in the paperwork, and we were registered LLC or C Corp or whatever we are. And I was just in that moment, at 9 p.m. and in a closed hair salon, we're all just sitting there being like, yeah, go team. Like, it's real. We're making it happen. And it was such a great moment. But yeah, a lot of those happened at the distilleries. Okay. And it's a big deal. One of our mentors was like, it's all fine until the divorce happens. We were like, well, yeah, I hear you. I understand where they're coming from. I get it. But we try very hard to also have time as friends. Mo and I call and talk on the phone and support each other in all of our medical stuff we go through. And we hang out a lot still. And I think there's you never go into something with the end in mind. You can always get surprised. We're kind of going on faith and like doing our very best to still be very good to each other and communicate preemptively and be on top of our game with that. But that was, I think, the scariest part, was saying like the dream was always to go into business with our friends and to start a company and just be this group of like people that you love and see eye to eye with, and you're raising your kids together and you're doing all these things. And then it comes time to sign that paperwork and you're like, oh, what if this ruins everything? Like, what if this kills it? And we all, I think, had that scared moment, and we said, are you just going to like give up the dream of the thing you always wanted? Because now it could end bad, or you're scared. Like, you can't just walk away because you're afraid.
So you've built a team here, and then you're just building product, you're getting funding. Have you sold the product yet? Have you? Yes,
we have. We're live. We have a paid customer. Hey. Yeah, we have 2 interested customers. So I have to shout out Bailey with the G Beta program. Wonderful startup accelerator here in town. Highly recommend for anybody who wants to have a business. They have G Alpha, which is like no commitment. You just show up. She was like, hey, heard from an arcade that's opening in Laramie. Here's the contact info. So we called those guys up at Arcade Laradise, Michael. And they said, we can't really afford to put you in everything, but can we put you in just our coin dispenser? And we're like, totally. And it was a tough job, but we figured out, my husband was there building cables right in the store and making connectors because it was a weird electronically. This is the thing with arcades. They're all different. Some are old, some are new.
It's like custom every time.
They're so variable with like their power draw and stuff. And this was a token dispenser. So some arcades have like tokens. So you can put in a quarter and get a token, but it had been converted to do quarters. So you could put in a quarter and get a quarter, like a different quarter. It was, or like a $1 bill and get a quarter, or get 4 quarters. So he found a way to wire into the quarter mech, which was exciting. Yeah. And so first paid customer, and we see like a couple bucks a weekend in transaction fees from there, which is exciting. Yeah. Money flowing. So it's, I don't know how many thousands of dollars after all these years and different startups, but we're making $1 a week. We're cash flow positive, baby. But then we have someone with 7 machines in Oklahoma, which is a claw machine route, which we expect to do very well in claw machine routes. And then somebody in Pennsylvania, I guess, has like 100 machines, and they want to start with 10 machines and kind of see how it is. So we're getting the hardware. We're still working on our scale for our supply chain, but we get our PCBs in and do a few little things with them and build cables and ship a little kit out, and they can install themselves. So.
Okay, so big plans.
Big plans, yeah.
Big plans, but you're the very, very, you're not at the beginning because you've done a ton of work.
We're like 3 years.
But you're still at the very beginning.
We're still at the very beginning compared to what it's going to be. That hockey stick growth, I think. We have applied to an investor, and they asked for a spreadsheet of 5 years of predictions And we're like, oh, that's really hard to do. Thank God we like spreadsheets now and we get excited about them. But it was so wild to just put in like, okay, how many people are attending these conferences? How many are our customers? How many, if we get 10% at each conference, potential customers, and we're like, oh, those numbers are huge. Like, actually, this could be enormous. And that's just arcades. If you're looking at unattended retail is the coin op industry, arcades is the second biggest. Laundry is actually the biggest, and vending comes in after that. And then there's there's printers and things, car washes, whatever. So it's actually a massive industry, and it's not going anywhere. It's actually growing.
Has it been all fun and games, or has there been...
Yeah, there's so dramatic ups and downs. And every overnight success is 5 years in the making, right? So we're I would say very close to our overnight success moment. But the 5 years, ups and downs and tears and all kinds of, is this really going to work? I think one of our bigger moments was finding who's in the competitive scene. We didn't do a ton of research on competitors, and we realized there's similar products using Bluetooth. We realized there's people out there with hundreds of patents, and you Google a competitor's name and it pulls up articles of all the people they've sued this year. And you're like, really, is this going to be us? Are we, those sorts of moments are not good moments. And, sometimes you just get overwhelmed with are we really doing this out of our basement? Or we in this basement right here are going, I had cereal for dinner tonight, and I'm going to take on these,
That's right.
these giant companies. And I'm like, I'm not even a functioning adult. What am I doing? We've had plenty of those moments. I think I had one of those moments last night. And I think eventually learn you're not going to feel this way forever, and you just have to take the next step. You're not thinking about the next 5 years. You're thinking about today, tomorrow, this weekend, the next install, the next iteration of the hardware, the next email you have to send, and you're thinking about next. And I mean, not to get really unrelatable here, but just with my husband's and my faith, we believe this is not on us fully. We are responsible. We have stewardship, but we are not the only people. We're not the only factor at play, I guess. Right. There's a bigger plan. And we just have always been praying over our businesses and believing in, this is all in service of something bigger. We'll be okay without it, but we do believe this is what we're called to, and we're gonna always do our very best. And I think that helps with the panic in those moments.
The day you found out that somebody else is doing this with Bluetooth, and they kind of had you, not really, but kind of,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, we thought for a minute they did, yeah.
Why didn't you just give up and be like, oh, shit.
Oh, we spent too much money. It was sunk cost fallacy hard. We were already like, is there another, can we do anything? Is there anything we can do? And
you passed your 10,000 at this point, and then
we're
you're
15K in, it's gotta work.
You gotta keep going. Yep.
Yeah, I think, and we had officialized things with Monique and Branson and Heath at that point too. And I think, I can't speak for them. For myself and Brian, there is this heavy responsibility of they've put so much time into this. They've set aside the bees and the mushrooms and the other things to work on our project, and we want to make this work for them. And we feel very deeply it's we gotta make this work for the team.
I do want to focus on the mindset that says, because a lot of young folks, which is a large part of our audience, are how do I make money in life? Well, you get a job, but you're kind of flipping it on its head a little bit here you're just simply saying, invest now. It's a compound interest. Mm-hmm. But we're not just talking about the stock market. You're talking about, I'm going to put in a lot of effort now. Mm-hmm. It's going to be really hard. And there's going to be reward later. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, trust that reward. Well, and working smarter, not harder. Sometimes there's a really great opportunity that fits well with your skill set. And I think my husband's a software developer, but get your hustle on. You can find a lot of ways to make money. I had probably a 20 or 30 house sitting circuit at one point when I was much younger. And I was like, there's lots of ways to do it. And you can have your job, you can have your side thing, the bees, the mushrooms, the YouTube channel, all the things. And there's a lot of ways. Well, and even Heath is working at his job at the restaurant, and then he's doing software development on the side. For two companies, actually, PixelPay, and there's another one that's paying him. Yeah. So it's not like a binary switch. It's like a dimmer switch. You can kind of work your job more. You can go part-time on your job to then work more on your side hustle, and there's a lot of ways forward in that life. And more so than ever, really, just with the internet, there's never been a better time to have your own project. Yeah, you never know. Like things hit you by surprise and grow, and I don't know. It's a very cool life. It's very cool.
I think startups are fun. Just like, especially all the ideas. I mean, I really wanted to see, all the ideas. I mean, PixelPay, it's such a unique idea. I would never have thought of it. I didn't, when she's talking about competitors, I was like, competitors? Like there was a competitor to that? Like there's something like that. I had no idea. It's very unique and really smart. And so which is, I think, what I got when she came in, it's just like their business is very, it's different. And it's more creative and it's more fun, and I just really appreciate stuff like that that's in our community and in our country, to have those more unique fun things that just bring something new to the table. And I think we need more ideas like that. So I think it's really cool to see, to hear about it and to see her talk about her like an idea that I would never have thought of, but I think it's really fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is a fun idea. I was kind of impressed. Like it could just be a service-based business, and like you said, they're building it into a much larger startup and concept. And but when she said that they were going to bring their friends on, instead of just a couple of them, they were like, everybody gets equity. The more the merrier a little bit. Not, some people may think that way, but fewer people, more equity, more power control. Right. Most entrepreneurs tend towards a power control dynamic. So, all the money to me. And she's just like open-handed. It's going to be fun. The more people we have, the better we're going to grow our business. So we'll see how they do. And I would expect them to do like quite well in that way. And I really appreciate her mindset. So fun to see. So anyways, thank you, Hannah, for sharing. There's plenty more people in the PixelPay company. Yeah. So she was just a spokeswoman. And we're hoping to hear back from them in the future, catch up on their next progress as they build things. And until then, as you build things, my friends, happy sailing.